Hello.
gals, and everyone else. Woo! It's podcast time. I'm so excited for I think tonight's episode 9 or 10. I forgot to go look. But anyway, it's 9 or 10. Woo!
Oh, I was like 9 or 10. At first, I thought you were talking about Spy X Family because we didn't talk about
No.
that yet. But I
Oh,
actually
that's right.
just thought about that, and I haven't watched the last three episodes.
Oh,
So
well, we'll talk about that next time then. We'll talk
yeah,
about the
we
season
can.
finale for that next time.
Yeah,
I
I
did
was thinking
watch
about
it.
it. Did you? I thought about it yesterday, and I think today was just another one of those days, like we were talking about earlier.
Right? Like,
The,
it was
the
just like,
time is just,
where
and
did the
I
day go?
part of it too was because I was watching the season finale of Stranger Things 4, and that was
Mm,
like 2.5 hour episode, so it
yeah,
took a while.
I have friends watching that. Well, oh my gosh, I just realized my cord. Hold on, is
I can't hear you.
that's weird. When I unplugged my
Oh,
headset,
there we go.
it
Did
muted
it
my mic. That was
auto
weird.
mute? I
Yeah,
was like,
it did auto
what
mute. That's weird.
happened?
It's like my mic auto mutes for a lot of different things. It's really bizarre. It's a little frustrating sometimes. My chat will be like, "We cannot
they're
hear you," and I'm like, "Dang it!"
they're overcautious. They're like, we shall protect your voice.
Right. All right, cool. Well, I'm so excited tonight because we're gonna talk about Boat Sushi. Um,
Oh man, I know, and like even though we'll talk about it now, I guarantee you, like as I'm watching the live action, I rewatch the anime one. Like I'm thinking like maybe not the live action one because you haven't watched that fully yet, but like when
yeah, I have.
or you watched it.
I've seen all
Okay,
of it.
okay, so then I can talk to you about that too. So
Uh-huh.
I guess as I'm going through that, I'll probably like if I have a thought pop up, I'll probably just send you a message about it. And then if I get into when I
Perfect.
get into the anime again, then I'll send a message. And two, now that I finished the anime, I got back into reading. So I got 2 volumes of Demon Slayer completed today.
Nice.
Tomorrow will be the MDZ books or book one anyways. I'm gonna start it, so I'm gonna rotate. I'll do like manga one day and then that the next, or if I
That's
have
a
enough
great way.
time, then I'll do like a book of manga and then a little bit of that or chapter or something, and I'll switch between the two. But if I don't have time to do both in one day, then I will whatever day, it'll be
Rotate.
every other day. Yeah, I'll
Okay,
rotate for sure.
that's perfect.
But
Volume 3 of
uh,
that comes out mid next month, which
yeah, I
I'm
think it's
really
like the
excited
16th
about
or something.
because we had to wait 6 months for Volume 2.
Oh, really?
We only had to wait 3 months for Volume 3. So I'm like, woo!
Oh.
Yay!
And then volume 4, I think the date said like December, didn't it?
I think so. I'd have to double check, but yeah.
I want to
So
say it was December. So that's cool. And
and
there's only four
um,
volumes in that, right?
well, no, the manhwa, so the comic, is also coming out in December. Volume 1 of that. So
Okay.
super
Now
hyped to
is
pick that up.
I'm assuming that's probably gonna have like tons of volumes, most likely.
You know what? I'm not sure if it'll have tons. I'm not
Oh,
sure
yeah.
because it hasn't come out here. I'm not sure what like how much of the story is in per volume. I know that volume 1 no, sorry, I'm correct. Volume 2 just barely came out like a month ago in like China and those other
Oh,
places
okay.
that it's coming out at. So I do know that as far as the online serialization, it's almost done. At least as far as I've seen in like plot line wise, it's almost done. But I don't think they put the comics out super frequent, like the physical copies. I don't know. I'll have to do some research on that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know Volume 2 just barely came out, but I don't know like how much of the story is in each volume. So, no clue there, but I'm really excited to get it here in English. Yay! And then the only other thing that we like don't have here is there is a mobile game. I have no idea what kind of game it is, but the art is beautiful for it. I wish I could play it.
I'll have to look it up. I haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, it's so pretty. Some of the characters look like not like the same person at all. You're like, oh, that's that person. But the art's gorgeous. Period. So is all the art for the audio dramas, because like for the covers of the audio drama, and I think each audio drama comes with like a booklet. The art for those is really pretty too. The Chinese version has like super gorgeous elaborate work, and then the Japanese version is actually, all the art for that is done by one of my favorite artists in general that I discovered a few years ago through a different show that they just did fan art of, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this artist. They go by the name of Giris, and actually, like, I have some official MDZS, like I have a magazine and like a poster done by that artist, and it's so beautiful. It's like really crisp versus like, I'll have to show you later. It's a good example. The like I said, the Chinese audio drama art is really, really like extravagant and beautiful, and this is beautiful in like a more like crisp and simplistic way, but it's beautiful. But anyway, I digress. I have so much I could talk about. You're the one who just finished it, and I want to hear your initial thoughts.
Pretty fresh. It's like less than a week ago, I think.
I just finished it again today.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I kind of like, I know I could have finished it faster, but it's like one of those things where I enjoyed it, and I think each time I watched a few episodes, because I would typically watch anywhere from like 1 to like 5 episodes at a time, and I feel like the ones that threw a lot of like emotional scenes, or they had like a lot of talking and storyline like context stuff, those I needed like a day to just process everything that happened. There was so much that went on. I was like, okay, I need a minute here. I was like, give me a second to breathe. And so it's like, and then the scenes where it's like, if there was episodes where there's a lot of fighting or action and not as much like deep like context or deep like drama, emotional, whatever you want, however you want to word it, but if it wasn't as deep, then those like I would watch back to back to back, especially because a lot of those fight scenes were like you're on the edge of your seat, like, oh my god.
They're pretty intense.
Like, yeah, so like that first episode, like by the time that first episode was done, I had no idea what I was getting into at the time. I just like I watched it, and by the end, like it ended, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, did I breathe in the last 20 minutes? My chest was so tight. I was so tense. Oh, god, it's like I was in the fighting scene. That was some intense stuff. It was really good though. I liked it a lot. One of the things that I noticed was like the animations and stuff seemed a lot cleaner than your typical like Japanese stuff. There was more like smooth, fluid motion with the movements and the flow, especially like when you had like ocean scenes and there were no characters, or like when banners were waving in the wind and stuff. They were extremely smooth and clean and crisp, and I was like, that is like, it was really nice to see. It was just like satisfying and pleasing to my brain. My brain was like, oh, bliss. And it was, yeah, I like that a lot. And in the beginning, like they start out almost immediately saying that I'm really bad with names, so I will do what I can.
You can usually go with like a color. I can usually tell. I could probably tell you who it is.
Yeah, the black and red.
Wei Wuxian or Wei Ying.
We'll just call him Wei.
There you go, Master Wei.
Yeah, but in the beginning, the first episode, it's like everybody was making it out to seem like he was such a bad person, and it's like I don't like even from the very beginning, just like with the way they were talking, but then just seeing him and the brief interactions he had in the first few minutes, it's like there's no way he's the bad guy. I was like, he
Mm-hmm.
can't be bad. Like he's got to. There's got to be something wrong with this plot line already. And like as you start watching it, everybody's talking about how he's so mean, and he's like, I only get exact revenge. I never did anything like mean or villainous or any of that. And it's like as you go on, like I was watching it, and when it's in the past before he starts doing the demonic cultivation, it's like he was such a nice innocent person. He just wanted land to like him, and like he just like, why do you hate me? Why won't you talk to me? Just drink with me, come on. He wanted a buddy.
Right.
I felt so bad. I was like, what happens that ruins you? You're such a sweet, innocent little dude. I feel so bad for you. Why do people hate you? And it's like as it goes on, and there was that one scene where he felt the resentment, and his hand, he like tapped into the dark a little bit, and no one had ever done it. And then everybody was like, I don't remember who freaked out on him
It was
and telling him that
JC
like,
in the purple.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So he was saying that like he was going off on him and getting all pissy with him about it. And it's like at that point I was like, okay, so maybe he just like taps into it, and does he get taken over by the dark side? Like, is it one of those typical story things? And I was like, oh great, dark side versus good side, yay! I was like, hopefully it's more complicated than that.
Uh-huh.
And so like you keep going through the episodes, and I mentioned it to you. I was like, I just keep waiting to see like, is he gonna break? What's gonna happen? What's gonna push him to break? I was like, oh my god. And then I finally see what happens, and it's like, okay, I was hoping for something a little bit more epic than him getting his butt whooped and shoved into a cavern. And then it's like, well, I mean, I get why he would break and that would push him, and like the whole like reasoning behind it. I just wish it had been like something a little bit more like epic, but I guess like then it would be too typical. It'd be like, oh, my family's in trouble, I'm gonna break and snap. And it's like, okay, well, I'm kind of glad it was different, because then everything that happened, didn't expect any of it. It wasn't the typical like movie plot like line where we're gonna have a beginning, we're gonna have something bad happen, a family member's gonna die, they're gonna break, level up, and then go crazy and win. And it's like, yay, normal plot line. You can tell and expect everything. So it was really nice to get a storyline that at every point I didn't know what to expect or what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting, and this is why I say it's really cool to kind of go. This is a show that's really worth a rewatch, because like you watch it initially and you get all those oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, all these things that you don't expect, and then when you go back and watch it, you start like putting pieces together in the places where they actually happen, and you're like, oh wow, like, oh, like this is really good writing, like,
Yeah.
wow. Because like for example, with him getting captured and injured and just thrown into the burial mounds, like part of the reason why that was, it seems lesser but like is a big deal, because at that point when you first watch it, you don't realize that his golden core is gone. So he's
Yeah,
like all
that
of a
I could not
sudden
believe that.
less cool than he was. Like he's just Joe Schmo now.
Yeah,
And like
yeah,
you
I
don't,
had no idea.
yeah, you don't really, and the cool thing is you kind of get a hint if you're looking for it, because when the core crusher or core melting hand guy, when he hits Wei Ying, he like makes a face like there's nothing
Yeah,
there for me to crush.
I
Like,
remember that scene. Like at the time,
and
I
you don't think
didn't
about it
click
when
in
you're
my
first
brain.
watching it.
No, like he did it, and he made like a weird face, and he's like, wait, he's like, he said something about a core, or like I couldn't break it. He hinted, like you said, there was a hint towards something, and at the time I didn't even think about it. But yeah, like, and then him not picking up the sword ever again after
Mm-hmm.
that, like, And it's like, well, why'd you switch from a sword? I never really thought, like, I just figured he needed the flute and that was part of the new power.
Right.
So he didn't, like, why would you use the sword when it's weaker than what you're currently, like, mastering and using? So I figured it was just an upgrade and he was better with it. But, like, there's so many twists and turns in it that, like, the, there's so many, like, it's not normal where, like, you have your two or three main characters and all the context, all the story, plot lines are primarily centered around them. And you might get like one side character for like a few episodes or
Uh-huh.
a short little storyline, and then it's right back to the main people. This one, it's like you have the main people, you have Wei and Lun and JC, but then there's so many side characters, and you get a lot of
It's a
context and
big cast.
storyline, yeah, into that person. So it's like you get invested in everybody and then it's like as like and then what was his name, I think Wen, the ghost
Wen Yin,
general.
yeah, Wen
Yeah.
Ning.
um I didn't at first, I didn't realize that the ghost general was him until like later when they like tell you about it. And at that point, like, that's one of the things that I want to rewatch it for too really bad, because it's like at the time I know way he made him into the ghost general, and he did it because he saw him die and it kind of broke him because he had really strong feelings for him and everything. He cared for him and JC when he got captured and hurt, and his
Yeah.
sister brought him back to life, and then he just basically got assassinated, and they never did anything wrong. They were doctors helping all sides. They
Yep.
were neutral.
They just happen to
And
be a part of the wrong family.
yep. And so it's like at that point, I felt so bad for him and so terrible. And he just like, even as a zombie, he was still seemed like such a kind-hearted person. But then it's like he also had that half like broken zombie vengeance where like and it's like when he was killing people, was that, I mean, I know that Wei controlled him and stuff, but to some extent, did he want to get revenge at that point, and did he break, or was that fully Wei telling him and making him do it?
Well, so it kind of depends on the scene. I don't think him. It's hard because you don't actually get a lot of context in the anime as far as to what Wen Ning may or may not have been thinking the first time he attacked. I think probably the first time maybe there was some personal resentment there, and that's part of what maybe made him a fierce spirit, is that resentment. But at the same time, he might not have had any because he was just that good of a being. Like,
Yeah,
Wending's
even as a zombie, as a
such a
spirit,
good
he's
boy.
so good.
And
Like,
I think that first time when he's turned, I think that's 100% weighing, using him as, you know, as his tool.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it
The first
was
time he had no idea.
but I think later, when we come back to that same area when bad things happen, I don't think, obviously, I think it's always weighing, except for when obviously there's that other thing, that other person tampering and controlling, and that's
Well,
why
and
it looks
what
like
happened?
Wei kills people that he didn't want to kill in the first place.
Yeah, what happened with because there was the one scene that he shoved his fist through the guy's chest. I think it was Jin was the name. Was that
Zhuan, yeah,
Wei's
Jin Zhuan.
son? Is that Wei's son at the time?
No, that was technically like his kind of brother-in-law, because that's who his sister Yan Li married.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
why did, and at the time, didn't they, wasn't it said that Wei didn't tell him to do that?
correct. Because at that was one of the moments where Wei Ying was out of control because someone else was tapping into that demonic power and had like
That was all the
another.
symbols
Yeah,
along that like bridge
exactly. That was
valley
the
that we found
symbols
out,
that
right?
Natchan went and found later. That's part of what he found while he was trying to prove Wei Ying's
And so we're
innocence.
supposed to assume that whoever did that is the reason why he
Correct.
went off course,
One
right?
hundred percent. Because yeah, he did not.
And
He did not want to kill him because he didn't want to
no,
leave. He didn't want to leave his nephew without parents.
yeah,
Like he didn't want to do that. So no,
no,
he 100% did not order um Wending to do that, but it made it the situation made it look like he did.
yeah. It made it look a lot worse at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like there were so many like ups and downs, but like throughout the entire series, I feel like no matter what Wade did, I always felt like he had a a good purpose. He had a good intentions behind every action he did. And there was, like he said, he got exact revenge. He never did anything spiteful or for his own personal gain or purpose. It was always, he had a very exact purpose and intention behind it. And that was, I was so shocked because it's like, I was like, what the heck just happened? I was like, why would he do that? Why would he tell him to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And like when we find about all the symbols and everything, they didn't really they didn't really say who the symbols were from. They didn't. Are we supposed to assume it was the original guy that sacrificed himself, Mo?
No, so they were put there through I almost don't want to tell you because you're going to get more details reading the books.
Okay, that's fine. I'll find out when we can as I get further in the books we can talk about it more. I'll bring
Yeah,
up.
cuz it's a kind of a it also it's like a combination of a couple of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting too. Like I've never read a book, which is God. I'm 30. I've never read a book, not a full book. I've read bits and pieces of a book. Like in school, I would read like the first chapter, 10 pages in the middle, and like the last chapter, and that was it. That
You're
was
like,
I never did more than
that's all
that.
I need.
Yeah. Outside of that, I've never read anything outside of like video games and stuff. So it's it'll be I've been doing really good with the manga. I've been absolutely loving the mangas, and I get through them, I read them, and I'm remembering everything as I go. I'm not like, and I haven't touched the volume 9. I was like in the middle of volume 9. I was like halfway through it, and I didn't read it for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks while I was watching the anime. And I came back to it today, and I immediately remembered everything that I had been reading. So I'm hoping that when I start reading the books, I won't have a problem with the comprehension side of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be able to read it, remember it, and it's a lot. It's a lot for me to read through.
That's
There's a
why
lot of pages to
that's why I
remember.
suggested watching the Danwa first, because for me, so I am also the only thing I usually okay, not the only thing. I don't do a ton of reading that isn't manga for leisure anymore. I used to do a little bit more, but I'm a really slow reader. And especially when you're reading something that is originally like Chinese text, you've got like crazy names that you have to remember, and like
Yeah,
everyone has 2 or 3 names, and you're like, oh my
that
gosh.
I think that took me probably like 20, 30 episodes to get a
You're like,
grasp on because
who's
they
everyone?
yeah, they kept changing what they would call them. It's like your way, your wushin, your this, your that. It's like what is your okay? So these 4 people are you. I there were 5 people in the scene. I thought it was one name per.
Yeah, so
Like what do you
you've
mean?
got Wei Wuxian, and then you've got Wei Ying, and then you have the Yiling Yaotsu, or
Yeah,
Yiling Patriarch. Those are all him.
yeah,
And then, of course, for you have Lechan, Lan Wanji, and you have Hang Wenjun. Hang Wenjun is more of a title, um, but yeah. So you get all these names that are the same person, and you're like, ugh.
well, and I want to know like I know that there's I think each time they introduce they're like oh my name is this courtesy name is this or they say something so it's like okay so I'm assuming each one has a specific like because they use all of them at different times they call them different
Interchangeable.
things so it's like what is obviously I don't understand their culture completely or anything like that so it's like at what why do they switch between the names? Like, what does each one, like, one is professional, one is a nickname, one is like, is it mean?
Kinda. No, you have like your birth name, um, and then you have the courtesy name, which is like the name that like acquaintances will call you. You have like your birth name, which is like what your close friends are gonna call you, and then your courtesy name is gonna be like what other people call you, and then you have like your official title name, if you're important. So that's why, for example, with Lan Wangji, most like the younger Lan Clan people, they all call him Hung Wenjun because that's
Yeah.
like a title, that's an honorific title for him. Like his older brother is Zhu Jun. That's his title. So, but like, you know, him and Wei Ying just call each other by like their birth names because
Yeah.
they're homies.
It was so crazy too. Like when he came back, how quick it was, almost like he knew Lon would recognize him immediately because he was so. It seemed like he was so nervous and scared to see him for the first time. And it's like, I get it, you like have feelings for him and you were so close and you wanted him to like you. You didn't want him to hate you. And obviously he was growing on Lon. Lon was just playing hard to get and like, I don't like you, but I do. I'm just not going to tell you and give you the satisfaction and all that, which was like their whole like back and forth thing was super cute. Like watching everything. Anyways, it used to crack me up, the arguments that they would get in and the mini fights and chasing each other
Right.
and stuff. But then it's like when he came in and Lon recognized him, it's like, how the heck did you know who he was? Like almost instantly. It's like he didn't even do anything. How did you know that was him? And even JC picked up on it really quick, and he almost knew immediately too, and he snapped him with the lightning thinking he possessed him. And it's like, how, after everything that Wei did, how could you think so low of him that he would forcefully possess somebody? Like that wasn't who he was.
Well,
Even when he snapped and went to the demonic side, he still was never that type of character. It's like, you should have known
well,
that he
I
wouldn't.
think, and this is why I'm excited for you to read the book because there's a lot of stuff that you learn while reading the book that you don't learn necessarily in the anime. Like for JC, for example, he was like, anytime there was like a possession or like anyone that was dabbling in demonic cultivation, he would like apprehend that person and like make sure it wasn't weighing. Like,
Just, and it makes me wonder because
it's
at the
wild.
end we find out that Wei gave up his golden core, which was like, what?
Oh
And then
yeah, they saved that for the
like,
last episode. And you're just
yeah,
like,
like big, huge, like mind blown. And then at that point, it's like you find out JC was basically, since the day he died, it was almost like, since the day that Wei died, it was almost like JC was grieving every day, and he never stopped grieving because he was supposed to stay by his side the whole time and protect him. And then he found out he came back, and at that point it was almost like he felt betrayed by his brother, where it's like, you came back, why didn't you come back to my side? You promised you'd be here always no matter what, and then you've left me and ditched me this whole time. So it's so heartbreaking to see. He was so upset and hurt. He just wanted Way back by his side, and he never got over his death. And then for him to come back was like the ultimate betrayal and hurt for him. And it's like, he, once he found out that his golden core was Way's, and that's why he had to pick up the demonic, it was like everything clicked for JC at that point. And it was almost like he went through like a wave of forgiveness and emotion, and the grief lifted, which was kind of cool to see. Like him, like it almost seemed like he was gonna be able to be happier, but he was still mad and upset at the same time.
right, he was definitely upset, and I do feel like the very last scene we get with JC, like it's such a roller coaster of emotions in that scene, because he's so like angry and rude and resentful, and then he's confused, and like you can tell that there's like it's definitely kind of like relief, but at the same time, then it switches over to like feeling betrayed and like almost like it almost seems like he feels like he's being belittled because it's like, oh, now I'm supposed to like worship the ground you walk on because you gave me this and I owe you. But,
Yeah, like I owe you.
and
Now I'm supposed to be
but
okay.
then in his final moments that we see, not his final moments, but the final moments that we see in the show, obviously he didn't die.
Yeah.
But it's obvious that he just misses him, and it's hard because like JC pushed him away because like
Especially when he came back.
Wei Ying would have absolutely stayed loyal to JC if JC could have pushed aside his pride, because the problem is JC had too much of his mom in him.
I watched the live action and I want to strangle her. Like, oh my god! And watching the anime, like I was hoping she would die and just like go away, and I wouldn't have to. I was like, I can't handle this woman. I'm gonna hate every episode she's in. And then when it came down to it, and she stepped in and did the punishment, it's like, okay, is she doing this so it's not as bad? And then when the lady's like cut his hand and she's like, no, and then it starts off on the whole spiraling, and then she protects them and sends them away, and it's like, no, okay, save her somehow, go back.
It's like, I know,
you can't die.
she's such an interesting character because yeah, same the whole time, like leading up to her final moments, you're just like, oh,
It's like, I hate you. It's like, I can't stand
you're
it.
such a terrible human. But it's like she's super strict, but she obviously loves her children.
Yeah, that was the quickest flip I've ever had.
She's like, whatever, Wei Ying, whatever, you caused my family issues, but she loves her children, and she obviously was willing to do anything for them, and that was really great. And yeah, I absolutely despised her, and she still makes me grumpy when I'm watching it. I'm like, ooh, you just get under my skin, and I hate you a little bit, but then part of you is really cool, but
Right, like I've never had a quicker flip of emotions. It was like within seconds I went from hatred to like, no, save her, please.
I changed my mind.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I was just kidding.
Yeah.
It's like it had such a quick flip, and it's like if I go to rewatch it or like watching the live action, it's like, okay, it's like I know she's gonna become worthy and then she goes away, so it's only like for a certain time. It's like, okay, it's not as bad. But when you don't know, and it's like, oh god, am I gonna have an entire like 10 hours of this woman? I'm gonna go crazy.
Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, she's pretty rough, but she's she's a really powerful character, and just is another really good example of there's two sides of every coin.
Yeah, and I feel like the Wen clan, they were super annoying. They were basically like Fire Nation. I couldn't stand them. But then it's like,
especially the son, Wen Chao. Oh
yeah.
Oh.
It was so irritating having to like watch them. I couldn't wait for them to like be destroyed. And then it's like they got rid of them, and then the other people basically stepped in. They were not quite as brutal.
Clan.
Yeah, they weren't as brutal and merciless, but they were just as bad. It was just they
were brutal and ruthless to the rest of the Wen clan, though, even though they didn't all deserve it. So
yeah, so it's like they weren't any better than the Wen clan. It's like, and it's like, there was an episode, I don't remember who it was that said it, but it's like they said to the clan that you think just because the Wen clan's gone that you can replace them and take over. You're the same as them. Like, it's like, oh, who's gonna kill them? Please get rid of them.
Well, and that's why like it was so yeah, again, it's funny because you have these clans that are like overall really awful, but then you have like the few people who are fine. So you're like, I hate this whole clan. Then you see this one person, you're like, okay, fine, that person's okay,
Yep.
fine.
It's like that one, you're acceptable. You don't count.
Yeah, like,
It's like,
well, that's the
there's
thing
always
is
an
with
exception to the rule.
these Wen clan people that Wei Ying was trying to defend. You know, these were like fourth, fifth generation moved aside, like not even part of the main family. They were like fourth and fifth cousins over here. Like,
Yeah, they were like Wen and his sister. They're part of it because they were born into the clan, but they don't follow their teachings,
yeah,
and
exactly. Like they're just
they're
normal
evil, vicious
people.
killing.
And as far as, you know, him and his sister, they were, again, they were doctors and they treated people on both sides like whatever.
No,
Okay, we're just gonna keep people alive
I
because that's what we do.
that's one thing that like I said, that's one of my favorite scenes of the whole thing. Like I could rewatch just that episode of when the Wen clan comes to help protect them, and they do the spell to turn
Yes.
their clothes red.
So
Like
good.
when Lan was like, "I'll do it with you," I was like, "Oh my god, this is it."
Oh my gosh. Okay, so one of the things that really, really hit me that's really subtle about that whole sequence is, you know, because Wei Ying's like, hey, I have this thing that I want to do, and Lan Zhan's like, okay, I'll do it with you, and they start the spell, and then like Lan Zhan, you know, like bows to his uncle, and his uncle, who's, you know, been really like anti Wei Ying the whole time, even he says to himself, this is how it should be. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes. I'm like, you get it.
You're like, exactly. Finally.
And like I felt like so much justification for like Wei Ying and Lan Zhan, because I was like, yay, the grumpy uncle gets it.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
It's like by the end, it's like some people were on Wei's side the whole time, like Lon and everybody, and then you had people who just were completely against him and thought he was an evil person and didn't agree with what he was doing and the things he did. But by the end, it's like to find out that Lon never gave up, and when he said like, "You didn't miss me," and he said there was no point, it was like he knew he was going to come back the whole time, and it's like there was no point because he never gave up. He never let go. He was fighting from the moment he died to the moment that he came back. He was like, I never stopped. So there was no point. Like, you were always there. You're still here. It was like it was such a, like, just showed the deep connection and loyalty between those two. And it's like, even though Lon was quiet and sometimes mean or harsh and all that, it's like deep down, there's so many things that he did that
So
never
much.
came to light.
Yeah.
Like so many hidden things that just, it was like, wow, like in the end, they're ride or die with each other.
They really are. They really are. And yeah, they are they're such a great couple. They like jumped up into my favorite, like my top favorite fictional couples of all time, like instantly. And it's really cool. Again, it's really cool to go back and rewatch, because again, you'll like catch little things you didn't catch before. Like one of my favorite things is just in, you know, like episode 2, not the first time he runs into Wei Ying, but the second time when he's playing the flute and he grabs his arm and he's got that face like, that's me and my boyfriend's song. We're the only two that know that song.
Like nobody else does
It's like,
this.
so I know.
Like I see you.
And like you don't really know that your first time through, because you're like, oh, he's playing a song. Okay, the guy grabs his hand. He looks really intense. Why? And then at the very end, when Wei Ying's like, what's the name of that song? You wrote that song. What's the name of it? And he's like, Wang Xian. And you're like, oh, that's the song. That's the song he was playing, and that's why he knew. He knew that long.
Yep, he knew it all along. It's so good. And that's one thing I'm wondering. I mean, I guess since you watch it, you can tell me. Since the anime is only like 20 minutes and there's only 35, the live action is like 40 minutes and there's like 50 episodes. So do we get, is it more filler stuff or do we get like more story
Um,
context? Like, is it more in depth than the
yeah,
anime?
it's not really filler. There are some stuff, I will tell you right away, there's some stuff that's like super different, but it's the overall story is intact and like the same. But for example, you know how Wei Ying and JC like go to the Lankalan to like train for a while, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
In the live action, their sister comes with them.
Okay.
And then like the Wen siblings also show up for that. And so like that's super different. There are a couple things that are different from the anime, but I'm not entirely sure if they're completely different from the novel because some of it I haven't gotten to yet because of the fact that, you know, it's multiple volumes.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's more just like in-depth stuff. It's not really quote unquote filler.
Yeah. That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, it's all totally worth watching. And like the way, you know, how the anime kind of jumps around as far as the flashbacks are concerned. Well, kind of. You get 2 episodes that are current, you know, current day, and then you get like 15 episodes of flashback, and then it jumps back to current in the story, and then you get more flashbacks throughout. So in the live action, the first 2 episodes are current story, and then it goes into the flashback, and it's the flashback for like 30 episodes because it's just they do everything chronologically.
Yeah. That's another reason why I wanted to rewatch the anime too, because when things jump back and forth between like current time, other time, in between that time, go back to current, like it's so hard for my brain to keep up with like all the different things and what's what. But like towards the end, I felt like there were so many like context clues that like I was confused on, and it's like, oh, okay, that goes back to the, oh, okay, that goes back to here,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was bringing the pieces together more and better. So I felt like if I watch it again, I'll see little things like when the guy tries to crush his core, and it's like, wait, why didn't that do anything? You should be in.
Like, hold up,
He's
wait a
like,
minute.
I may not have broken it, but it should. You should be in pain. You should be
Mm-hmm.
something, and there's nothing. And so it's like, and then seeing that there were 50 episodes, double the length, I was like, so am I going to get like double the context, double the story? I'm like, if that's the case, that's going to be super cool. I was like, I will be obsessed.
There is some really cool stuff in the live action that's not in the anime that is in the books. So there
Okay,
are some
that'd be
scenes.
really good.
Yeah, there are some scenes that are not in the books that are in the live action. So you will get some new content there, but stuff that you will eventually read, which is really cool. Um, yeah, but yeah.
One thing that I, out of the first episode, the I don't know if it's just because I'm so used to American acting. The acting was a little cheesy at some points, and like Way's whining in the first episode, like no. And I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, is this what I'm gonna see the whole time? I'm like,
So
okay, maybe it's just the way Chinese is. As maybe it's their way of acting. Ours is different. I was like, so I'll just have to get used to it. I was like, it fits the scene and the
mhm.
general stuff. So I was like, and it's kind of in a way it was kind of funny because it's like he's throwing a 2-year old temper tantrum in this room full of adults, and it's like every one of you assholes deserves to deal with this. I hope you're all just embarrassed to your core
I
right now
know,
because you're
it's
pieces
so
of crap. I
good.
don't like you.
It's so good. That's one of the things I love about in the novel and in the live action is the fact that during that scene, it is like a ton of people are there, so it's like way more embarrassing. Because in the anime, you know, it's just like a few of the family members, and then like
Yeah, it was just like a
the two
couple.
little lawn dudes. But yeah, in the live action and in the novel, it's like the whole town is there to witness this really
Everybody.
embarrassing thing, and it's
Yeah.
like,
And it was how they were all saying that like Mo had like this is our cousin. He has mental issues. Everybody in town's aware. I don't remember them really emphasizing him having like issues in the anime. Really, it was more just he was their cousin and nobody liked him. And this one, it was like they were trying to like,
yeah, they really drove it in the live action a little bit more. They mention it a few times in the anime, but they kind of like stop talking about it, because you're just supposed to accept it and move on. Because like in the first couple of episodes, they talk about how they're like, oh, he's like crazy, he's like insane, and he like flirts with anything, like. And you're just like supposed to take that piece of knowledge and be like, oh, okay, and just apply it to the rest of the show.
yeah.
Which is why, and they talk about it a lot more in the novel. So basically, because like part of Mo Jianyu's problem is the fact that so he was treated like crap.
Yeah,
one can
was
only take so much mental and emotional beratement before it kind of just snaps you.
Yeah, right.
But,
I felt bad for him, and it's like I almost like if they did a prequel of their family and him and how he came to the like how does he know of Wei aside from just like maybe the historical like legends, myths, whatever. Why did he become so obsessed with him, and how did he come across the spell? I mean, I guess he got it out of the one guy's chamber or whatever, but why did he get it? How did he know it was there? And what made him get like go so far? Like, I mean, I guess he wanted him to kill the four people because he had the scars on his arm, but it's like, what all aside from picking on you and getting bullied, like, because I mean, stealing the paper and pushing him around, I mean, that's just basic bullying, and in a way the anime that's like America's version of a school shooting. It's like, I'm getting bullied, I'm angry, you go kill them, like get rid of them, I can't like so it's like not the best thing in an anime to be teaching. Like, you really should have gone a different way. So it's like, what happened aside from that pushed you to that point? How did you find the spell? Who told you about it? What pushed you? What gave you the knowledge to say, hey, this is what I'm gonna do? And aside from having them killed, what else was your purpose of giving up your entire life, body, soul, everything to just have, because you're not at that point, you're gone, you're not even there to witness or get the satisfaction. What if he did it? What if you gave up your soul and he just came in and never did anything? Because he got exact revenge. He didn't just do spiteful revenge, and that is pure spiteful revenge at that point. And it's like it's like, did you just want the cuts healed on your arm so you could go on and live your life and not have this lingering mark on your arm telling you still haven't completed your body's wish at that point? So it's like, that part was, I would, if they did a prequel on that whole thing, I'd be so happy. I'd be like, yes.
So a really interesting, I'm hoping that we get more details on this when, as more of the novel volumes come out.
I'm excited for number 3 just because it's green, and I absolutely, the color on the book and the front and back, they just look, it's like the perfect green.
The cover
it's
for 3
super nice.
is good.
I absolutely, even if I wasn't going to read the book and I didn't like reading, I would get the book just because of that cover is amazing.
Speaking of beautiful covers, I really want to get like the other languages that it's available in. I feel like everyone's covers are more beautiful than ours. You should look up the German covers. Oh my gosh, they're beautiful. And they're actually available. They're actually available like on Barnes & Noble, so I might have to get the German covers because they're pretty. But back to what you were saying about Mo Jianyu. It's really subtle, and I'm hoping we get more in the novels, because I don't know how much detail those go into about this. But do you remember? So you have Wei Ying, and then you have JC, and then you had their little friend Hui Sang, who was like the wimp. He always had the fan. You remember the guy with the fan?
Not really, no.
You would if I pulled up a picture of him or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you spell his name?
That is a good question. I think I can spell it.
Well, how did you say it?
So it's H-A... Hold on.
Wong Jun? No, that's not it.
No, no.
That's the first name that comes up on HA.
Hold on. Hold on. You would ask... Oh, I can spell it. Hold on. I've got my book right here. I'm like, you want me to spell that? Hold up. Yeah, so you've got like... Hold on. Oh no, he should be in this one. Maybe. There's Guan Yao. Oh, here we go. So it's Huaisang. Whew. If I'd thought about that really hard, I could have done it. But yeah, Huaisang. So.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
I remember him.
So he's a freaking little deviant.
I was gonna say, didn't he turn out to be a bad guy?
Well,
He was like,
yes and no.
he was like,
Yes
I remember.
and no. I don't. He did. How do I? I feel like he was justified. So he was the one pulling the strings, as far as like he's the one that got that spell to Mo Jianyu and like somehow got the idea of using that spell to summon Wei Wuxian because he was so dark and scary and evil and he'll kill the people that have wronged you. I think he's the one that absolutely put those ideas into Mo Jianyu's head, but he's also the one that, you know, gave him access to the spell, and he kept like dropping hints here and there for Natchan and Wei Ying to get involved because he knew the Guan Yao needed to be dealt with, but he is not powerful himself. So,
Yeah.
but he knew all the right people to get involved. Though he's like, oh, but if I get Natchan and Wei Ying involved,
Then they could do it.
they will deal with it, and then my brother will be, will be avenged, and this really awful person will no longer be in power.
Yeah, and his brother was the one that was in the coffin.
Yep.
Under the ground, right?
Yep.
Who was
That
like
was
the
his brother.
crazy powerful
Yep.
dude.
Minju. He was like,
Yeah.
he was the saber wielder. We call him Saber Daddy in my friend group.
That sounds good. That'd be easier to remember.
Yeah, we call him Saber Daddy. But,
I can go with
in
that.
fact, once you watch a bunch of the live action, I haven't watched it yet. This is just about the only thing I haven't watched that I have access to. But there is a side movie in the live action universe that is about Huaisang and his brother, Saber Daddy. I need to go watch that. I feel like I should have watched that before this. But anyway, I need to go watch that because I actually really like Huaisang. I think he's a really interesting character, and which is why I'm hoping we get more detail as to, like, I mean, we know what his motivations were. He wanted to get revenge for his brother being wrongfully killed by Guan Yao, because Guan Yao killed him because he was like, whatever, you're a jerk and you called me the son of a whore, even though that's what I am. That's like that's my biggest trigger, and how dare you call me that? So
yeah, and he was the one that was in the chamber, right? Who like controlled the chamber that the spell was from, where the head was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Guan Yao. He was all, and
I didn't like him. He was as bad as Glenn.
Okay,
like
so yeah, you're not supposed to like him, but I felt. Yeah, I think they did a really good job of making him seem like, a really kind, caring, cares about the community character up until the right moment, right? You get a couple hints and you're like,
I feel like all they, like, the making him seem like he's kind and caring is like political motivation, just so he could get in power. But deep down, he's
But
ugly.
you know who fell for that, and I felt really bad for, is Lan Ziqian, which is the older Lan brother, Zhu Chun. I felt really bad for him because they were like best friends, and I'm gonna put my BL opinion out there and say that they probably had a thing going there, and just
Like
to
it,
find
'cause,
out, like, oh my gosh, you're actually this terrible human, and
yeah.
I'm actually a wonderful human, and my heart
Right.
is crushed.
I remember the scene like when it was like all coming out that he was the bad guy. I remember a scene where it like flips over to his face and it looked like shock and
He's
he was
just
hurt and crushed. He's like,
crushed, and you're
"Why
just
would
like,
you do this to me?"
oh, he's so
And,
sad.
and then it's like, "Oh man, now I feel terrible for him." It's like, "Oh, poor you, man." That'd be like Way going bad on Lon and
Right?
like killing
Like,
somebody he loves and
surprise,
it's like,
I'm
"Oh
actually
no."
evil. And you're like, but no.
You're like, it can't. I know. I was really happy that they got together at the end. There were so many cute, like, little, like, couple gathering things. And like you said, like, they're probably one of the top. I think, anytime I think of, like, the couples like that, it would be those two. And then, like, the Skate 8, like, I
Right.
can't remember the Skate 8 names as well, but the two main guys. And then you
Reki
have the
and
pink and,
Longa.
yeah, Reki and Longa. And then you have the pink haired dude and the green haired guy.
Cherry and
Um,
Joe.
Yep. Those two.
My
Like,
boys.
yep. And in that one, it's like it's kind of like in this one, it's like you like and want everybody to be happy and succeed. And it's like in that one, you want everybody to be happy. Even the main guy, what is his name? Adam
Yeah.
in Skate 8.
Yeah,
Even
the
him,
main
like
antagonist.
he just seems like he's got some like broken daddy issues,
Yeah,
but
he just needs some therapy and a friend.
yeah,
It's fine.
he needs therapy and a lover of his own.
Exactly. That's what Tadashi's for. But anyway, I digress. I could talk about that show forever too. But but yeah, they're just so great, and there's so many interactions that I just really, really, really loved. Other than the the what we call the wedding scene, you know,
Yeah,
and it
that was
was
cool to find out about.
yeah, it was so cool because when I'm watching it, because I grew up I've always watched a lot of like Chinese cinema and like shows and whatnot. So I mean, I don't know a ton about their culture, but I know enough that I'm like, oh my gosh, red's their wedding color. This like it's like
Like,
they're
this is
they're
it.
married. They're married. Fight me.
They're married. They put
They're
it in
married
there.
now. But
And I bet you that if anything, that's probably what they meant.
oh,
They meant that
I
scene for
am sure.
100%.
I'm sure that's 100% what that scene was meant to signify. And most of the Wang Xian fandom, because that's the couple name, because well, that's the name of their song, so that's just what we call the couple, Wang Xian.
Yeah,
Obviously that scene was put there on purpose.
yeah, it had to have been.
But
Especially like because he was like, "I'll do it with you," and they like take their hands and then they go do the red and like the blood, and it's like, okay,
such a cool
there's
scene.
a deeper meaning to
Oh
this.
yeah,
This isn't just you
absolutely.
saving some people that hate you.
Right? Um, and then, like, another one of my favorite interactions between them is when they're stuck in the cave with the turtle
Oh, for like
monster.
3 days, 5 days,
Yeah,
and they're just
they had some really, really good interactions there, and
yeah.
that's when you like really first start seeing, like, maybe Lanchan isn't as hard and cold as he seems.
Yeah, he's opening up a little bit, starting to like him some.
And like
Way's growing on him.
yeah, and then like obviously Wei Ying stepped in and was like defending people down there, so that was impressive. But at the same time, you know, Lanchan was already had this song written about
Right.
them, so obviously he was already having feelings way back then.
The
And
scene where Wei had caught, I don't know, I would have to rewatch it. He either caught him or he planted it, but he planted the dirty magazine on lawn. That scene was
he planted it. It was so funny. Yeah, he distracted him with the pictures so that he could plant the dirty novel.
it was
Which
so funny.
yeah, it's so funny. It's
Uh,
so
Lon's
good.
reaction to that was so amazing. I was laughing so hard. That
But
was a good one.
and then some of my other favorite moments are just like really really subtle, even like for example, when they're so we're like at time, but I just don't care. So it's after the Yi City arc when you have, which is a whole nother arc that I could just talk about forever, because man, so the beginning of season 3, that first story arc, which was, you know, depressing as all get out. After that, when Wei Ying is talking about, he's like, did you ever burn Joss paper for me? Did you ever miss me? And he's like, no, because I knew I didn't have to miss you, because
Yeah.
And he's like got this little smile, and you're like, oh, look at you, look at you,
Like,
your little smile. But
yeah, the Yi City was pretty interesting. I'm excited to get to that part in the books
so
and see like what all they talk about.
that's the beginning of book 2, which I'm actually not done with yet. I'm reading this slower than I read the other one, purely because the Yi City arc hurts me so much because of my other favorite couple in this show. We like to call Winter Wonderland because their sword names are both winter related. But so you have the blind guy.
He's the one who created the frost, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The frost.
So you have him, and then Song Lan, who they were like basically a couple.
Yeah.
And the
basically.
fact that poor, like, you know, Zhao Zichen was tricked by freaking Zhu Yang into killing his closest person, and you're just like,
right, didn't even know, because he
and
infected.
And then when he finds out, he kills himself, and you're just like,
yeah, because he infected all the frost guy. He infected all of his clan, right, with this curse. What is it?
So what it was? So yeah, what it was is he would cut out their tongue so that they couldn't speak and defend themselves, like be like, whoa man. But he would use the corpse powder to trick the weapon, because the weapon was like magical and could sense
the zombies.
Yeah, and so he was tricking both the weapon and the man into killing this entire like village of innocent people.
Horrible when I found out that he killed them, and then to kill himself. Like, I'm not watching anymore today. It's like I need a break.
Like, this is so emotional. That entire well, I'm a crybaby, and I cried so hard during that arc. I was just like, oh, sad.
That was a tough one. That was really tough arc to get through. And then,
but that's the beginning. That's the beginning of book 2. So I'm kind of reading it slow because I'm like, sad.
Yeah, well, especially because I'm sure the book gives more details, so it's probably even worse than, than the anime was.
So sad.
And there was another scene that shocked me too, or at least the way I understood it, unless I understood it wrong. When JC and Wei first got away and they were hiding in that town, and Wei left, and then JC ran and he got captured. At the beginning, you thought that he was so broken he got captured and wanted to be killed. But then at the end, they revealed that as Wei left, there were I think it was the Wen guards were following. So JC took off running to lure them away from Wei. And so Wei thought he just got captured for no reason, but in reality, he did it because he was protecting you when you're supposed to be protecting him. And it was like, oh, that's such like a cute little moment, and you both were mad at each other for the wrong reasons. Communication is key.
Communication is key. It really is.
Speak to each other.
And that's part of what I was saying earlier about JC, is he's too much like his mom, as far as like he's really, really prideful and doesn't want to admit when he's wrong. He's not willing to endanger his image to do the right thing. And that's where him and Wei Ying really differ. And that's why it's hard, because that's why JC's dad liked Wei Ying so much, is like, that's what JC's dad was trying to teach all along, is, you're supposed to do the right thing, whether it makes you look bad or not. You just need to do
Yeah,
the
you do
right
the right
thing.
thing always. And not
And
telling people, it's almost like, is it just part of like their clan, their culture? You be humble, you don't brag to get appreciation, you just do the right thing, and you don't need to talk about it. You shouldn't expect to get anything in
yeah,
return or be appreciated. It's like you doing the right thing and feeling and knowing that you did the right thing is appreciation in itself, and that's all you should expect, and that's all you deserve. And don't go fishing for anything else, which then makes me like kind of brings me back to like the difference between their culture and
hmm
America's culture. Because in
right.
America, we're all about getting that appreciation and recognition. Like, I'm not humble, put that over here. You tell me I did a good job.
Tell me I did good. Yay!
Exactly. And it's like it's the more that I watch anime and I see little things like that, it's like, man, we are really screwed up over here.
Yeah, and I think that's, that is a big part of what I love about so many of the characters in this particular, like Wei Ying and Lanchan specifically. Like Wei Ying was just like the whole freaking time he just wanted to do the right thing,
Yeah.
no matter
Even if people hated
how
him,
he did it. Like he's
it
like,
didn't
I
matter.
have to use demonic cultivation to do the right thing, then I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do then, isn't it?
Right. Well, and that wasn't even like the beginning of that wasn't even doing the right thing. That was just doing something to help the person he was supposed to protect, and
Yeah,
that he
and that was
cared
the only
for
way he
deeply.
could.
And he couldn't, the only solution was to give that up. And he was always interested in the demonic cultivation from the beginning, even with his golden
It's
core.
true because he
And he's
talks
like,
about it like in
so it's like,
episode like 3 or 4 when
yeah, because he gets the resentment.
Uncle Lon is teaching his lesson. He's like, "There's 3 ways to deal with this," and Wei Ying is like, "There's a 4th way," and they're like, "No, no,
No,
there isn't," and he's like, "But there is. It's just not perfected yet because no one talks about it."
no one wants to do it, but it's there. And ultimately, I don't think Wei ever really lost his mind.
Oh yeah, no.
Like everybody was so afraid that doing the demonic cultivation would make you lose your mind and go crazy and do all this stuff. And it's like, in the end, I think it's just they just didn't like the concept of using evil to do good. And
hmm
it's like at the end of the day, if he's using it to do good, it doesn't make it bad.
hmm
It's because look at all the people that used the cultivation for evil, and it's like, so is that now evil and you can't teach that or use it at all
hmm
because it's being used for evil. Demonic cultivation has always been used for good by way. So it's like it's the user that defines the purpose of
Right?
whether it's good or
It's
evil,
it's the same as a
not the
weapon.
technique.
It's not the
Yeah,
weapon that's evil, it's the
it's the
wielder.
person. Yeah. So it's like the demonic cultivation. It was really interesting to see him use that and develop it, and he just like you said, he just wanted to do what was right no matter what. He didn't care who hated him, if he was liked, not liked. And then like he got, I think he got mad at JC, or maybe it was one of the people in yellow that he got mad at, but he got mad at them to make them go away so he could go on his own and protect them from like being retaliated for what Wei was doing. He didn't want them to fall into the
It
backlash.
was JC because JC comes to see him in the burial mounds and is like, "What are you doing? Like, people are saying all these awful things about you. Like, what are you? It makes us look bad. What are you doing?" And he's like, "Then just tell them I'm no longer a part of your clan. There you go. I'm
Yeah,
doing the right thing and I'm gonna stick to it." And
yeah.
that's like obviously the biggest rift between them because that's when they stopped being a part of the same clan, and that's when JC's like, "Okay, well, I wash my hands of you then,
Well,
even
and I don't
though
think,
I'm pissed off about it because you told me you would always be with me."
yeah, I don't
Um
think JC wanted it to happen, and I don't think he agreed with leaving. I think had Wei not said that, he would have stayed by Wei's side, and even if people would have hated JC and his clan because of Wei, he still would have stood by him and done the right thing with him, and it just would have gone the same route, slightly different way,
mhm.
but JC wouldn't have had lineage to show that I did all this and I wasn't with Wei, and I don't think there would have been that hatred and like the grief and spite between them the entire time, because JC would have been felt like at that point it was like, you don't accept me, you don't trust me to stand by you, and you're pushing me away because you don't think that I'll be there for you. And like that's like a big cut to him.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. This author's done 3 stories, and this is the tragedy, quote unquote, of the 3, which is nice because it's like tragic, but it still ends well. It ends happily because
Yeah.
like they go through so much garbage and like so many people lose so many people important to them, but it still ends well and happy. Which I was really worried about when I started watching it initially, and especially when I found out that it was the tragedy. I was like, oh my gosh, if this ends sad, I'm gonna be so upset. Especially because it's Chinese, and like I said, I've watched a lot of Chinese cinema, and a lot of it doesn't end happily. It ends in whatever matter suits the story. And so I was really worried with this being a tragedy that it was gonna end sad and I was gonna be so upset. I wouldn't have made anyone else watch it if that's how it ended. But luckily it ended well, and I've made so many people watch it, and they love it with me.
Yeah, that would be nice. Like how they, if not everything is cookie cutter and the same, and it's like, oh, everything's gonna be happy in the end, and you know it will be. It's like to have like however the story goes, however it should be is how it's gonna be. Like that. That's really cool. I like that.
That's how a lot of Chinese media, a lot of Japanese media is like that too. One of my favorite Chinese films, a few of them don't end happy, but they're really good films, like House of Flying Daggers, Hero from 2002, what is the other one? There's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, that came out pretty early in the 2000s. Lots of films like that are just, they're really powerful stories, and they don't necessarily end happily. It's just whatever happens, and it's still a good story either way. And so I was afraid that this was gonna do that because I wanted them to end happy. I was like, please,
yeah, you're like something, just a little bit of happiness.
But they gave that to me, so
yeah,
right.
That was good. I know another thing I noticed on the live action was all of the, so far I've only seen a little bit, the magic animation and like the CGI backgrounds look, it's almost like the water, the banners in the anime, they're perfected. Like the volcano in the first scene was so nice in that first episode, but then when you see them stab the swords through the people's hands, I was like, oh god, that was bad. That was not a good animation.
There is some really corny things, I will warn you. We call it wire fu. So if you haven't watched a lot of Chinese cinema, or especially martial arts ones, luckily there's not a ton in this, but what there is it's a little cringy, and you just have to giggle your way through it.
I saw that and I was like, man, how are you gonna go from such a crisp, clean, amazing volcano cliff to that hand stabbing? I was like, I saw it wiggle after it went in. I was like, what is going on?
It's so funny. It's a good time. It's a good time.
But I really like the first episode a lot. I am excited to watch more and get more in and get further. So as I watch that, as I start to read the book, it'll definitely be something that we can talk about more, because I'm sure I'll have more to say and more to talk about. And even now, I mean, we'll go ahead and kind of round it off after this, but I swear we could probably go another hour.
We could, because you know what? We haven't talked about it all.
No.
How wonderful drunk Natchan is.
Yeah, the drunk Natchan. We got to bring that up. We can talk about Spy X Family, and we can touch on this stuff more next time. But the drunk Natchan is so hilarious. I love those episodes. I want like a whole season of just him being drunk.
He's so good while he's drunk.
Their adventures.
It's so so good. And the drug scenes are just even better in the books. Because there's a couple in the first volume, and you're just like,
oh
so
man,
good. He's
it's
so
gonna be good. I think we're gonna be touching on this series for probably like well, and we have book 3 and 4 coming out too. So my guess is we'll be talking about this for like the next 6 to 12 months.
That's fine with me. I first started this right after. It was like, it was either right before Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving is when I started it. And I have been like full throttle, absolutely obsessed since.
Yeah, and I get why it's
And like,
really
I'm
good.
like, it's good stuff, guys. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to like when I finish something and I'm ready to start something new, or like add something in because I feel like I'm just gonna watch both of the like the live action, the anime. I feel like I'm just gonna watch them repeatedly, so it's like I'm gonna end up throwing in like Demon Slayer, and I'll watch like 2 episodes of that, go watch an episode of this, and then go back to Demon Slayer, and I'll throw in the episodes slower because I've already seen it, but I'll probably continually watch it over and over and over. So it's definitely, and as I pick up like new little details, new things, or maybe theories or whatever, and I read the books and get more information, it's like there's going to be so much to talk about. But I swear, going forward, when I do ask like, oh, what's something I should watch, I'm going to ask you, is it something that I can just like watch when I get to it, or like can I wait a month or two and just casually prep myself into watching it, or is it going to be like MDZ
You're
where
like, is this
I need to
MDCS
watch
level
it
or
right
well,
now?
and that's like how I was trying to recommend. I was recommending Spy Family to Kopic recently. I was like, I think you'll really like it when you sit down and finally watch it. She's like, I think I will too. I was like, it's like casual fun. It's just like, oh, that was fun. I was like, it's not like MDCS level intense, like, oh my gosh, that was incredible writing, and I feel like my life has been changed.
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, that one was really good. That's a tough one to. That's
It
a
was
tough one to
it was
compare
really
to. So I have
good.
to.
Yeah.
I always have to tell people, I'm like, this is a really casual fun. This was a life-changing experience for me.
Yeah, like you said, the Spy X Family, you could wait a month or two to get to it, but
Yeah.
definitely don't miss out on it. Watch it. I
Yeah,
loved
it's
it,
totally good. It's
and
totally worth watching.
yeah, I've
Absolutely
just
good to
basically
go.
been waiting for episode 12 to hit the English side so I could just watch all of them,
I think it
and
just.
it hit just last
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it just
so
came out. So.
I saw that and I was gonna watch them so we could talk about it today, but then I finished the MDZ and I was like, that's probably gonna take up the whole
The whole
thing, and
thing.
then some. So I was like, I probably have time to watch it, so like let's do this other stuff, get back into reading. And then this week's time and stuff was crazy in
Right.
itself. The days have been weird, so it's all worked out. We can talk about Spy X next week. We can touch more on this. I'll have watched more live action episodes by then,
Yay.
and I'll have started the book by then, so I can give you some intro thoughts on that and how I'm doing, if I can get into it, because I don't even know. I've never
Right.
like
Who knows?
it's a new experience.
I hope
I
so.
think just
I
because of
think
the
it's
series, I
easier
will.
when it's something you're already familiar with. I feel like it's easier
Yeah.
to get into something, and those have always been the kinds of books that I read best. Like, for example, I read a lot of Star Wars novels because I'm really familiar with that universe and I'm really a big fan of it, so that helped me. And that's the same with the MDZS novels so far.
Yeah,
Is like, because I love it so much, I'm like, want to read it. So
Yeah, I think with me watching the anime first and being so obsessed with it as is, like, I mean, because typically, I mean, we talk about stuff, but like, and I put my 2 cents in here or there, but like, I have a lot to say about this one.
I know, I was
There's,
so excited. I was so excited when you're like, I finished it and I love it. I think it's amazing. And I was like,
you're like, yes, I got another one.
it's so
It was
good.
really good. So I think that'll give me an extra boost to be more motivated to read the books and be into them. And I really want more backstory and more context to everything. So I think that'll help me be more into dedicated and reading the books. And I started easy with some manga. Absolutely love those. So I feel like this is that was a great intro into getting me into reading.
Yeah.
And then now that I watch the anime and love that, it's like this is just going to be like reading and when I read the book, I'll have some context, like animation sequences in my mind
Yeah,
to play
exactly.
out, because the manga gives me a visual aspect to play out as I'm reading. This won't, but because I've already watched stuff, I'm gonna have characters' faces, images,
Exactly.
names,
And that's what I
scenes
mean is
to
it
like
makes it
play
easier
in my
for me as
mind.
well cuz you're already
Yeah,
seeing it. You don't have to like try to
make it
imagine
up.
it cuz it's already there.
Yep. So that, I think that'll be a huge, easy factor for me too on the reading. So I'm excited to get to it. I'm gonna read at least a chapter tomorrow. So
Cool. Well, I'm excited to hear about your reading adventures and yeah, we'll go ahead and cut it there because again,
yeah,
we could just talk about it all night, and it's getting really late for you. So
we'll never stop.
we'll stop here. Look
Yeah,
forward to more MDZS conversation. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it for
do it.
anyone. Really, for anyone. It's just so
Yeah.
good. Um, but thank you again so much, Dupree, for joining me. You guys, if you for some
Well,
reason
thank
are
you.
not watching Dupree, you should be. He just started. Oh my gosh, hold on. I know what you're playing. I know you're playing Legend of Zelda. Ocarina of Time. There we go.
Yeah.
And then he's also doing some Arc. But yeah, so you guys should check him out. He's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me for this. I always look forward to
Thank
doing
you.
these.
It was fun. I will chat with you later.
Yes, have a good rest of your night.
I will.
Bye
Bye.
bye.